Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Secretary, I said in your hearing, when you had your confirmation hearing, that my biggest concern with you at the helm was the potential use of the military in ways that contradict the Constitution or that taint what I hope we all want, which is an apolitical military. And when I asked you about whether you would accept an order that was actually given to your predecessors.
To be fighting these systems on the front line to make sure they have enough of them to replace attrition, and also that those systems are as good as they can be when they need them. Thanks for your time today.
Senator Sheehy and General, I would love to be part of that longer conversation about that issue. Thank you, Senator Sheehy. Senator Slotkin.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Secretary, I said in your hearing, when you had your confirmation hearing, that my biggest concern with you at the helm was the potential use of the military in ways that contradict the Constitution or that taint what I hope we all want, which is an apolitical military. And when I asked you about whether you would accept an order that was actually given to your predecessor, Secretary Esper, Trump's SecDef, to deploy active duty troops against unarmed protesters and to, in Secretary Esper's words, shoot at them, shoot at their legs. You said this was all theoretical. Here we are, a few months later, you've deployed 4,700 troops to Los Angeles and against the wishes of the governor. And my colleague across the aisle was right. It is the first time since 1965 that we have deployed Guard troops without the permission of the governor. In all the instances he laid out, the president had sent in the military to protect protesters, not against the protesters. So you may dismiss it, but I feel like this is a fundamental issue of American democracy. If you love your country and you want an apolitical military, then it should be the last resort, not the first resort in our country to use them. So to get to the non-theoretical, have you authorized the uniformed military to detain or arrest protesters in Los Angeles?
Senator, I would just start by saying you're not a protester if you're throwing concrete
100%.
at
Arrest
law
those
enforcement
people.
officers.
Throw them in the jail. 100%. But what you're doing is something different. Everyone knows this is a political decision, right? So we don't trust that you're using the best interests of the military, certainly, and of democracy on top of that. So have you given the order? That's all I want to know. It's not theoretical. For the U.S. military, not law enforcement. They can arrest all day long. That's their job. Do they have the ability, the uniformed military, to arrest and detain protesters currently today? It's a yes or no thing. Authority.
It's sort of amusing the extent to which the speculation is out there. These troops are given very clear orders.
Then what is the order? Then list it out for us. Be a man. List it out. Did you authorize them to detain or arrest? That is a fundamental issue of democracy. I'm not trying to be a snot here. I'm just trying to get the actual. Did you authorize them to do that?
All of these orders and what they're sent there to do are public. They are there
so say it. So say it. Yes or no?
I'd like to.
Please, yes or no?
As I've said time and time again through interruption, they're there to protect law enforcement,
do they have
ICE
the ability
officers
to arrest?
who are trying to do their job, deporting illegals who were allowed in by the previous administration.
So they cannot arrest and detain citizens of the United States, the uniformed military.
As we've stated, if necessary, in their own self-defense, they could temporarily detain and hand over to ICE. But there's no arresting going on. And you know this better than you're trying to play political games. There's no arresting of U.S. personnel.
Of the U.S. military against members of the protest. Have you authorized U.S. military cyber tools to investigate people participating in these protests? Yes or no?
Certainly in no way that I'd be aware of.
Okay, that's good. I love that answer. That's great. Have you given the order to be able to shoot at unarmed protesters in any way? I'm just asking the question. Don't laugh. Like the whole country. And by the way, my colleagues across the aisle.
What is that based on? What evidence would you have that an order like that has ever been given?
It is based on Donald Trump giving that order to your predecessor, to a Republican Secretary of Defense, who I give a lot of credit to because he didn't accept the order. He had more guts and balls than you because he said, I'm not going to send in the uniformed military to do something that I know in my gut isn't right. He was asked to shoot at their legs. He wrote that in his book. That's not hearsay. So your poo-pooing of this, it just shows you don't understand who we are as a country. Who we are. And all of my colleagues across the aisle, especially the ones that served, should want an apolitical military and not want citizens to be scared of their own military. I love the military. I served alongside my whole life, so I'm worried about you tainting it. Have you given the order? Have you given the order that they can use lethal force against honor? I want the answer to be no. Please tell me it's no. Have you given the order?
Senator, I'd be careful what you read in books and believing it, except for the Bible.
Oh my God. So your former predecessor, I guess that's not enough for you. Okay, on Iran. I don't think there's a debate. There's like a cat fight going on in your own party about whether to go after Iran. Have you commissioned any day after planning? So any force protection, any use of ground troops in Iran, any cost assessments? Because I don't think we doubt what we can do as a country in the attack. It's the day after with Iraq and Afghanistan that so many of us have learned to be so deeply concerned about. Have you authorized day after planning?
As I've said, we have plans for everything, Senator.
Okay.
And I would also reiterate how we began, that there will be a classified portion of this 15 minutes after we adjourn. Senator Banks, you're recognized.
An apolitical military. Secretary, wouldn't you say that in the last administration under Joe Biden, Secretary Austin, Mark Milley, we've never seen the military politicized in a way that it was over those 4 years?
Senator, I would say our mission has been to take the politics out of the military, take the ideology out of the military. And as a result, you've seen the response of young Americans who have, I called it a bump at first. I just want to correct that, Senator. It's been a tsunami. It's been a historic response of young Americans.
I want to unpack it. I want to unpack this with you, Mr. Secretary. Prior to President Trump's election, the military was struggling with the worst recruitment crisis in 50 years. That all seemed to have changed overnight on one specific day. And the chart shows it. The Army doubled its recruitment from November of 2024 to the previous November. The Navy, the same thing. The Navy's recruitment skyrocketed 80% from November of 2024 to the previous year. Mr. Secretary, what changed?
There was an election, Senator.
Why does that matter?
Because leadership matters, sir. Belief in your country matters. Having the back of your troops matters.
Pete Hegseth's hearing exposed serious gaps in his understanding of and commitment to the constitutional principles governing the role of the military in civil society. Instead of giving a clear and decisive response to Senator Slotkin's basic questions about the military's authority to arrest, detain, monitor, or use force against American citizens, Hegseth chose to evade. This kind of ambiguity from someone nominated to lead the defense establishment is unacceptable, especially when it concerns the deployment of military forces on domestic soil. The issue here is not an ordinary political debate or immediate performance. It is about obeying the Constitution, protecting democratic values, and maintaining public trust in a political military. The most troubling point is not simply the weakness of Hegseth's answers, but his apparent lack of awareness of how serious these questions are. When Senator Slotkin emphasized the principle that the military should be a last resort, not the first tool used to handle domestic unrest, Hegseth tried to redirect the discussion toward street violence, immigration, and customs enforcement, and illegal immigration. This was a clumsy deflection that failed to address the core of the question. No one is defending violence, and Slotkin herself made clear that those who attack law enforcement should be arrested. But the central question remains, why is the military being pulled into a domestic political crisis? And why is the person leading the defense establishment unable to clearly define the limits of its power? Hegseth's following statements only highlighted his lack of preparation and poor judgment. A competent defense leader would have given a clear answer such as, no, the military must not be used to suppress American citizens, or, YZ, in limited cases of self-defense, they may temporarily detain individuals and hand them over to law enforcement. Instead, Hegseth appeared evasive, defensive, and irritated when pressed to answer, yes or no. This did not project the image of someone in control of the situation. It projected the image of an official stumbling in front of the most basic questions about military power. The most striking moment came when Slotkin questioned him about the possibility of using force against unarmed protesters. This was a decisive question, because history has shown that politicizing the military to resolve internal disputes can push democracy into dangerous territory. Instead of responding with seriousness, Hegseth appeared dismissive, even mocking. That attitude suggests he is not a defender of the military's a political principle, but someone who does not fully understand the importance of keeping the military separate from partisan politics. Hegseth's claim that he wants to take politics out of the military was contradicted by his own performance. To truly protect the military from political influence, a leader must be the first to establish clear, public, and unshakable boundaries. The military is not a tool to intimidate civilians, not a force meant to serve a president's image, and not an extension of a political campaign. Yet when confronted directly with these questions, he failed to take a strong position. This shows that Slotkin struck directly at his most critical weakness. It can be said clearly, Hegseth was not trapped. He was simply asked questions that any serious Secretary of Defense should be ready to answer. If he cannot clearly answer whether the military can arrest citizens, if he cannot be firm about whether cyber tools can be used to monitor protesters, and if he cannot reassure the public that the military will not be used to intimidate American citizens, then the problem is not with the person asking the questions. The problem lies in Hegseth's own competence, transparency, and judgment. This hearing did not merely weaken Hegseth's credibility, it exposed a larger problem. When the person at the top of the defense establishment cannot clearly define the line between protecting the country and serving political power, the public has every reason to be deeply concerned. A strong military is essential for national security, but a military politicized for domestic purposes is a serious threat to the republic. In that moment, Hegseth failed to show the courage needed to defend this principle. Instead, he showed himself to be a politician wearing the uniform of a defense leader, an alarming sign of the erosion of institutional norms.